Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me on today's customer success office hours. Look like we've got a good bunch of people joining us already in the Zoom session. It's Tuesday, the 24th of September, 4 p.m. in the UK. Pretty early for the rest of you guys, I would imagine. We are honoured, I shall say, today to be joined by a few of my colleagues from customer success who are in the Zoom session. So we have Z House, Akeem Jenkins, Michael Kolos, and Double Z. That way I don't muck up your surname, Zach. And we have another couple of colleagues in as attendees as well. So as per usual, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them either via the Zoom chat or the Q&A panel, or if you're watching live on Twitch, via the Twitch chat session as well. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Z to introduce himself and what he's going to demo for us today. And then anybody feel free to just drop some questions in as we go.
Thanks, Will. Hey, everybody. So it's been a little while since I've joined one of these. I think it's been like 6 weeks or so. So when I was in Australia and did a little bit of site recovery demo then, and said when I came back, I would demo some cooler things other than just site pairing and the basic site recovery manager type stuff. So I've been working on that for a little bit now, a couple of weeks, and finally have it to the point where I got something more that we can show off. So let's see here. So we've got one of the things, I guess we'll kind of jump into it here. We get asked questions a fair amount of, how can I actually do a DR test, right? And that may seem pretty simple. You fail your VMs over, or take a copy of them, stand them up in some remote location, and test the things that they need to test. But for Site Recovery Manager, if you're from the networking perspective, unless everything is on just one big giant layer 2 segment, you're probably going to need to be able to talk across layer 2 segments ultimately. And the question is, well, how do I do that? How do I keep my running VMs up and running, and test these things that have layer 3 connectivity in VMC? Obviously, that's what we're talking about. So what I'm showing here could also be done with just regular site recovery on-prem to on-prem, but we'll focus on the VMC or VMware Cloud and AWS side. So you can do that. It's just that it's not necessarily out of the box. So I guess that's kind of what we'll go through and show here. So show a little bit of what I have set up here. Just a basic setup. So site recovery, I am using the appliance in my lab. So this is Site Recovery Manager 1 and 2. I've got, I guess I kind of have 2 labs right now. I've got 2 vSphere replication appliances. So if we open up this guy. So all the configuration stuff has already been done. So it's not, we're not going to go through and show any of that. So the site's already paired. My on-prem virtual center, I kind of followed the same type of naming IP address and the FQDN that we're doing in VMC for whatever nerdy reason. My SDDC, you can see that we're paired on both sides. Site Recovery Manager. So for having multiple Site Recovery Manager instances, you can have one that's the default extension key, which would just be VCDR. And then if you need multiples, like what I have, you would need multiple extension keys. So you could not have 2 Site Recovery Manager installations with the same extension key. So I just matched this to my SDDC name, you can see over here. Logged in, everything like that. We've gone through, we've configured everything. I'm going to make this bigger because it's not playing nice. So we've configured all the resource mappings, everything like that. We have one protection group. We have one recovery plan with 4 VMs in it. And so what I was trying to do is The best way to do this, so in the on-prem world, you can actually put scripts on either your site recovery manager, your Windows-based SRM installation, or if you're using the appliance in the on-prem world, you can put scripts on there. But we have no facility to put those scripts on the site recovery manager appliance in VMC. So really, what I've done is I've created a Mule VM per se, just called just that DRAS Mule. It's based on Photon. And I've just gone through and I've created a bunch of cover your eyes and ears Perl scripts to facilitate what I need to do here. So this is the first VM. If we look at the recovery steps, it's the only one in priority one. Um, and we've got a prompt in here, right? So saying, hey, we need to do something. We'll see that when we either do a test or a recovery. And I've got 3 scripts currently that kick off, and then there's some logic built into those so that we can detect: are we doing a test failover? Are we doing a recovery? And what direction are we going? So this VM here, if we look at this guy back over here. Um, if we look at what we have on the SDDC side, we've got a network, and I have a segment here. So even on a test setup, this really isn't playing nice, is it? So sorry, I'm going back and forth. If we look at this VM, to look at it from the protection group. This is going to fail over here, and it's also going to use the same exact segment for the test network. So this is a routed network in VMC. Here, I'm just going to do like this so we don't have to keep resizing stuff. So this is a routed segment. I can see this in right here. So this is coming from my VPN to the SDDC. I have these 3 disconnected segments. So I also have these live in my on-prem, same IP space, same gateway. These live in my lab, but these segments are disconnected. So I am not learning these via BGP, via my layer 3 VPN. There's nothing in here for that, and we'll show some of that functionality. That's one of the main things that we get asked about, or that I've seen anyway. It seems like it comes up fairly often. So this VM, so even on a test, it's going to come over here. So that particular VM is going to have connectivity even in a test. And we need that because that VM is making calls to either VMC or anything like that. If we also look at the way I have my my AppDB and web tiers, I am also using the test networks for this. And the reason for that is because we're going to deploy, we're not really deploy, we're really just going to power on a virtual router to give these 3 segments layer 3 connectivity, because in VMC they're disconnected. Let's see here. So there's a number of things that we need to make this work. So if we come back, there's some information that we need here. So one of the things, if we look at some of these scripts, so the first one is the IP customization. You may ask, well, why are we customizing IPs? Well, that's because we need, and the way that I've set this up is we need IP connectivity even in a test, right? And we cannot, uh, we can't do layer 2 extension. I mean, we could, but just would have been another layer complexity. Um, and then you also may be asking, well, site recovery has the ability to re-IP things built in. As I said, I'm using Photon. I ran into some issues with getting IP customization to work on Photon. I didn't work. I see we've got a couple of the site recovery people on, so apologies for demoing my manual IP customization. I'll talk to you guys offline about the issues I ran into. Um, but it also just kind of proved it was pretty simple. So if we look at this guy here, um, just detecting. So when you fail over, Site Recovery Manager actually injects environment variables. So detecting which way you're going, whether you're going towards VMC or back to on-prem. And if we look at the top of this here, so I've just put in, what all my information, right? So it also just kind of proved some of the things that I could do. This was the first step in creating what I've created here. Um, so this script here will kick off. That's the first one, so that this appliance has IP connectivity, and then actually don't remember what order I've got these in. I think it's add host. Yep, add host, and then connect segment.
Z, sorry, can I just interrupt for 2 seconds? We had a question
Of
come
course.
in, just to cover off again the reason for the mule VM.
The mule VM. So the reason for that is the main reason. I'm sure there's probably a couple others, but so the main reason is, so on the VMC side, you cannot SSH to the Site Recovery Manager appliance and put these scripts. So these scripts here, I- in the on-prem world, you should be able to make this work, right? You should be able to do away with this small VM, and it's small. It's about a gig in size. It's a gig a disk. It doesn't take up a whole lot of resources. It really doesn't even have to be powered on all the time. It could just be something that gets powered on via site recovery. But the reason for it is because we cannot copy scripts. There's no facility to be able for users to be able to put scripts on the Site Recovery Manager appliance in VMC.
Sure, just like you can't access a host in VMC, right? Because it's
Correct.
a
Correct.
managed
Yeah.
service, yeah.
Exactly. So yeah. I mean, you can't SSH into Virtual Center or the hosts or NSX Manager, things like that. So the same thing applies to Site Recovery Manager.
Cool, thanks.
Yep. Um, so yeah, that is the sole purpose for this. So all these scripts, I'm trying to figure out a way to anybody that wants to see these, or wants to get a copy to work from them. We'll either post it to the Twitch page or something, or maybe we can have a follow up. But if you want to access it like immediately after this, just I guess hit me on Twitter on VMA to Z, or at VMA to Z, and I'll figure out a way to get these to you. What's I talking about here? Okay, so we need some information. So obviously the IP customization, we need to know what IP we can use on-prem, what IP we're going to use in VMC. That one's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We also need to know what segments, right, we're going to be using in this case. So segments are these guys right here. So our isolated app, DB, and web. Again, these are in the disconnected format, and there's the key to that. We need to know those segments. We need to know the reverse proxy URL. We need to know the cluster ID, things like that. So that's all going to be fed into the ad host. So one of the other questions is, I'm kind of just using my VMware Cloud and AWS as, I need more compute on a failover, and maybe I need a lot of compute. So instead of having to click the button over and over and over again manually, this is going to programmatically add a host to either an SDDC or in this when I'm going to demo a particular cluster in an SDDC. But either way, you need to know the cluster ID. So I had to go through and create a couple of different scripts here. So these 3 GET scripts. This is my SDDC ID. Okay, so this is actually deleted. So I need to, I was trying to fill a little bit of time there because I forgot to reset this up last night. Okay.
We're just blasting through some questions anyway on the chat. So maybe while you're carrying on with that, I can just cover off or ask any of my colleagues to jump in. So there was a question from Will about any plans to enhance the product so we can make scripting easier for customers without having to resort to a mule VM. I don't know the answer, and we can follow up later, but I'd imagine it's like all of the other management layers within VMC, where if additional functionality is required, there'll be some form of policy layer or header layer on top to make it happen, or they would just bake it into the product. But I'll definitely follow up on that one with you, mate.
Yeah, and so on that, I mean, so what I've done here, I've tried to make it pretty portable, right? So all of these scripts, whether they're fairly human readable. So whether you're familiar with Perl or Python or whatever, you should be able to look at it and tweak it to your environment. But the emphasis there is that you are going to, I mean, it's not going to be directly portable. You are going to have to tweak it to your environment to, either at the bare minimum, your org ID, your SDDC ID, your refresh token, all of that. The segment names, all that stuff is going to be different. The IDs that are associated to it. So, for the VMC side, I think that we could definitely improve some of that. Some of this functionality could be baked into the product. In the on-prem side, it's too much like the wild west. Being able to cover each and every vendor integration, things like that, I think would be pretty difficult. But I'm in customer success, so we would need to. It's definitely something we can take back and feedback to them. So, so one of the things that we're going to need here is the cluster ID. And this is all available. So if you just do a regular API call on get SDDC, you're going to get back a giant pile of JSON. So all I've done is create a little Perl script so that you feed it the SDDC ID, and then you can see the clusters that are inside of there. So the reason I'm deploying this to cluster 2, some of you may have noticed that my SDDC is a one node SDDC. And if I add a host to cluster 0, I can't remove it. Right. So once it's the minimum size is 3, and it just kind of breaks things. So I just use cluster 2 just to demo the add host functionality as a way to save some time on my part. So this guy's deploying. It'll take about 15 minutes. But so this is one piece. Again, if we look at this, I'll change my refresh token here so nobody can steal my stuff. But so an org ID and all this stuff you could feed it through the command line. I was thinking about it last night. So some of this stuff would be, if you protect this mule VM or you leave it powered off and it's all kept in your scripts, well, then it's kind of safe. You could put it all in parameters so that you fed it to, you fed it to the script. But then if somebody had access to Virtual Center and site recovery, they would be able to see those command line parameters. So, whatever fits best for your security posture and how either you do things or how your company does things. So, there's a lot of different ways to do just about everything. So, but it's pretty simple. It just, like I said, I don't know how large it is. It's a huge pile of JSON that you get back. So you could definitely just make the API call and do a control F and find this information. It just seemed a lot easier to, at least from a demo perspective, it demos a little better like this, I think. So, so this is one of the first pieces of information that we need. So we'll go ahead and we'll edit our add cluster. So everything, like I said, I've tried to make it pretty portable. There's a bunch of variables at the top that need to be customized. The number of hosts, right? So maybe you want 2, maybe you want 10. You can set that here. Obviously, your refresh token is going to be specific to you, org ID, SDDC ID, and then the cluster ID that we just grabbed. On-prem Virtual Center, VMC Virtual Center, so on and so forth. The next thing that we need, or one of the next things, actually the next thing is the reverse proxy information. So to make calls, so the add host is going to the VMC API. Actually, all these. So the segments, reverse proxy, cluster, all of these except for the two segment scripts, are going to the VMC API. Anything NSXT related goes to the policy manager for NSXT. There's a couple different ways you can do it. You can access it via the reverse proxy, which is the one that I'm accessing it through, or you can access it directly from inside of the SDDC or over layer 3 or VPN or Direct Connect. But so we need this information. It's kind of in the portal. That would be the private IP of it. But since I'm going through the reverse proxy, that information's not here. So again, to do that, I just made a I did add that a script to. Oh, and I didn't change it either. To get this information. So these two are the same. It's literally a copy and paste of the cluster one. I'm just grabbing a different JSON pair. So this is the proxy URL that we need here. You can see, so this is specific to my SDDC, my org ID, my SDDC ID. So we need to grab this and put it into our connect segment. Actually, it's already there, so we'll just show it. So proxy URL, and I kind of simplified it. So I tried to keep all the scripts the same. So it's grabbing the org and SDDC ID from the variables at the top. Disconnect segment is just for making my life easier. It's not part of the integration or the demo really, but I can show it. So let's see. So we went through add host, connect segment, and the IP customization. So that's it. I started working on another piece, but I decided to leave it manual. It kind of shows the quote unquote manual integration piece of site recovery. So while it's not super flashy, I think that it gives a pretty good real world case where maybe you just can't automate something, like somebody needs to pick up the phone and call somebody or physically push a button type of a thing. So we'll show that. So let's see how this SDD or this cluster is doing here. Still deploying. I guess I could have done it here too. So this is actually fine. So we'll leave this deploy. The first one we're going to do is a test. So if we come back and we look at this guy, so I've got, like I said, I have one protection group. I have one recovery plan. So I'm just using the priorities to set these. This VM is set to, even on a test, is going to have connectivity. Again, because all of that, all of our automation is coming out of that. So if we come back here, so I want to make sure that if I click on test here, we're going to be good. So let's do this. Let's do okay. I'm using Tiny Core Linux because, well, it's small. So I've got 3 of them. These are all on-prem currently. I am kind of cheating. It's not via BGP. These are just VLANs that live on my switch, so it's just via a connected route. But so these are the 3. See all of these. CD's kicking in. So these guys right here. So if we do the app one, really web, but just to show that it's not trickery. So that's this VM in my lab, and we can show that there's not powered on, right? So these are the shadow VMs from Site Recovery Manager. So now let's do a test. All right, I guess let's pause for a second. Do we have any more questions or?
There's nothing on there at the moment.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. So we're gonna go ahead and do a test. So the test use case is one of those things that we get asked about a fair amount. How do we do layer 3 connectivity? So again, those 3 VMs, my web app database, are on 3 different segments. Logged into this anyway. VLANs 101, or sorry, 100, 101, and 102. That's not good. So my gateway, just to show that I'm not cheating the system here, right? So they live on my switch in my lab. So let's go ahead and click on test. So these guys are going to remain up. My mule VM is not, right? So this guy here, I'll lose connectivity to, which is okay. Guess I could have made my RDP session a little bit bigger. Okay. So here we go. So the first thing is this manual prompt, right? So I put no timeout on it. So if I walked away and say I'm going to go make coffee while this kicks off, I'm going to come back and it's not going to have done anything. It's just going to sit here and wait. So if this is a test, please power on the TC router and the VMC Virtual Center. So you could automate this. You can make an API call to power it on. I had planned on going so far as to actually, the reason I used TinyCore was I was going to make it an OVF that lived inside of my mule VM, and that deployed it and powered it on and deleted it. But I ran out of time. And again, I thought this might be something beneficial to show. So if this is a test, which it is, please power on the TinyCore router and the VMC Virtual Center. So let's power this guy on. And this could be anything, right? So when I was looking at setting this up, Viata has an appliance. Cumulus has an appliance. Really anything, right? It could be another version of Linux that you're just doing IP40 on, which is what I'm doing in TinyCore. Whatever floats your boat, right? So so here we go. So it is a test. It says if this is a recovery, so we'll get to that piece later. So we're just going to focus. We're not even going to read the rest of it. It's a test. Go ahead and click on dismiss. So it's going to continue on here. It's going to wait for tools, and then it'll kick all these guys off. So if we and while we're waiting for this to go, so one of the other reasons, not just because I was lazy and ran out of time, is the cleanup piece. So on a test, we do not have the ability to automate that, right? So the steps that are in there for the test cleanup, we can't change or inject anything of our own. So that was the other reason I was like, well, I mean, we can just leave it out there. I think it's a whopping like 256 megs in size, manually powered on and off as we need. I figured it would be an okay. Hopefully everybody will forgive me for that. Okay, so IP customization, it already ran. The UI I've noticed is a little bit behind, right? So IP customization is run. So now, obviously, we can see this is not local. This is going over my layer 3 VPN from my lab to VMC. So get this guy out of here. Went ahead and powered those on. Tiny Core had some random issue. It does have tools inside of it, but it didn't seem to actually start until you open the console. So that's why those went super fast. I had to disable tools because it would time out. And I didn't think it demoed super well to have big giant red exclamation points. So all right, so let's take a look here. I try to keep everything pretty similar, right? So 30 is my on-prem, 31 is in VMC. IP, the last octet's the same. Okay, so if we go into our logs directory, we can see this guy here. This is today. All right, this would be the section from today. It runs super fast. We can see that this is a test mode. We're going in the direction towards VMC, so we're customizing it to be 31, and it's a /30 versus a /26 in my lab, just to be difficult. So if we look at add host, this is also a test, right? So same type of logging. These scripts are literally, at least the first part of it is pretty much a copy and paste. So this is also a test mode. We're going in the direction of VMC, and it's a test, right? So we don't want to, maybe we do want to add hosts during a test, which you could program that logic in. But in my case, I wanted to show that, we could do one thing for a test and one thing for an actual recovery. So test mode, no changes made. And if we look at this last guy, it's going to say the same thing. Again, test, direction of virtual center, test mode, no changes made. My VMs here are still up. They're still online. We do have the shadow VMs that are on in VMC. So now if we open up these guys, again, these are on different segments. These guys to all open up here. Of course, they're out of order. All right, so web, out of there. There's no IP customization on these, right? So they still have the same IP, our .10, so we can ping 172, which is this local segments gateway. We can ping the app gateway, and we can ping, of course, the database gateway, and we can ping the database VM, which is .10, and we can ping the app VM, which is also .10. So that is testing with layer 3 connectivity, and it's all going through this guy. So if I power this off, or let's say I forgot to power it on in the first place, right? I just maybe wasn't paying attention and freaked out and clicked dismiss without doing anything. Right. So can no longer ping app, can no longer ping the gateway, right? So that VM is what's facilitating that layer 3 connectivity. So pause there if anybody has any questions on that.
At the moment, we've got a question coming over the Twitch chat, but it's more in relation to Horizon 7, so I'm just covering that off rather than your demo right now.
Okay. So if we power this guy back on here, we'll do this. Maybe it'll demo a little better. Okay. So that's a question that, I mean, I don't think we've got it yet this week, and I don't think it came in last week, but 2 weeks ago, I think it came in like 2 or 3 times, maybe even 4 times in 1 week, from customers asking, how do we do this? So it can be done. And really, so all of the scripts that I was showing, you could do this without that, right? So you would just have to set up on the VMC side disconnected segments that have duplicate IP space, and and do just that. So if anybody has any questions on that, or how would you do it, or anything like that, just definitely feel free to reach out either anyway, Twitch, Zoom, or Twitter, and I can be glad to help you guys with that. So again, this is a test, right? So test is complete. As I said, the one part of the test is when you run a cleanup. I can't show it, but so let me just go ahead and clean this up. So on the cleanup, we cannot add a manual step. So if we could, or in the future, if we offer that or have that capability, then powering this VM off and on via API would make more sense, or maybe even deploying it by API, powering it on, powering it off, deleting it at the end of the test, would be just taking that another step further, right? So all these VMs are off. You can also not add a little pop-up, right? So at the to demo the same type of functionality, I wanted to show, hey, at the on cleaning this up, let's power this VM off. So when we do an actual failover, right? That was that guy timed out. So my connection here is gone now, right? These logs are also gone, right? So on a test, we don't replicate anything back, so we won't see these log entries on the on the mule VM. You will never see the log entries perpetual, right? They will only exist during a test unless you do some copying of stuff. So we need to power this guy off. Like I said, it does have the same IPs as the actual segments as the gateways. Okay. And our cluster is done, which is good. So just to show that. So okay, so that was a test. So our VMs are still up and running. We can show our clusters in the ready state now. So one thing to say, if somebody wants this, or if you're making your own little script, it does need to be in a ready state. There, I believe, is four states. Yeah, so there's ready, pod ready, deploying, deleting, deleted from VC. So if it's not in a ready state and you go to add a host, you're just going to get a warning that the cluster, actually I think it says the SDDC is not in a state to take what you're trying to do. So if you make your own, or if you get a copy of this, it does need to be in a ready state. Okay, so from that, so that was a test. So let's go ahead and do an actual failover. And I guess we can pause here real quick. I haven't really talked about some of this. So a plan migration, obviously this is a demo, so we're planning it. If my lab was, no longer here, I am logged in via my lab. So you would need to log in via VMC and do this, and it would be disaster recovery, right? So, whatever data we already had would be what we rolled with. And it is just an acknowledgement that this is making changes to your infrastructure.
On that note, I've had a number of conversations in the past with people, and often recommend performing everything from the target site rather than source site, so that people get in a good habit of launching it
Yep.
from there, and then don't panic when something has gone wrong, and they're like, oh, how do I launch it?
Yep. Yeah. So I mean that very good point. So I'm, like I said, I'm doing this all from my lab, and it's just simplicity's sake, right? So if you were logged into VMC, I think from that point, if my lab was, if it caught on fire and was no longer there, I obviously wouldn't be able to get in the virtual center. So,
Sure.
but yeah, no, very 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 good point. Getting into particular habits is good, especially when there's some type of an emergency going on. So, all right. So we'll click on run. Yep, we're going to make changes. So these guys here are all going to go away. Okay. My mule VM, I don't know if you guys heard that ding or not, but this guy went away, right? Because that guy got powered off. What else do we have open here? I'm going to log back into this because I'm going to need this here. Okay. So here we go. So I call this updated routing. Like I said, I am kind of cheating. These are just connected routes. What's this? Sorry, wrong one. In here, I didn't add them to BGP because I didn't want to have to mess with restarting, and I figured it demoed a little bit better. But obviously, this manual interaction would still probably need to be manual, right? So my edge router, I believe there's an API to it, so you could possibly automate that. It would depend on you or your business's comfort level with automating these types of infrastructure changes. So if this is a excuse me, if this is a recovery, which it is, please update on-prem routing again, if possible. So if my lab was gone, I mean, we don't really need to update routing because it doesn't exist anymore. To stop advertising web app and DB networks, do this before clicking dismiss. So my cheating is because I just shut down the interface. Okay. So whatever it took for your, I have a Cisco switch. It's the model right there. I have a Cisco switch in my lab. Whatever you have that's doing your routing would be what you would need to do here. So we're done. We're gonna click on dismiss. It's gonna go ahead and power on the Mule VM. It's already on. All right, so I'm gonna do ping 172. So that is the web VM, I believe. And let's see here. Actually, we'll leave this up. So what's going to happen is we're gonna add a host, right? Sorry, I'm going to click on it. We're going to call add a host because of the logic that I built into it. It's going to detect that it's a recovery. It's in the direction of VMC, so we're going to go ahead and add one host because that's what I configured it for. And then the next one is we're going to connect the segments. So in VMC, if remember I said the emphasis on those three segments, the isolated app, web, and DB are disconnected. The feature for that, or one of the nice things about that is those segments live in VMC. The gateways are not attached to the edge, which subsequently means that those routes do not get advertised, right? So when I was looking at this guy, look, they already are, right? So before I didn't see those. We can see it's coming across my VTI. My VMs are powered on. So without changing IPs, with only shutting down, I mean, again, I shut down the interfaces, but stopping the advertisement of those routes from your on-prem infrastructure, we went through, we added a host. We flipped these networks from disconnected to routed. And sorry, they still say isolated. I was gonna add some logic to remove that from the name, but I wasn't able to. So there you go. So there's a failover without changing IPs, with the ability to test, with in my opinion, pretty minimal manual interaction for a DR test and a actual failover.
Thanks, E. It's pretty awesome. We've had a question come in from Shusia. Says, if this is a demo of keeping the same IP and turn off on-premise routing, so it's I guess not routing on VMC, why do you have a script for IP customization in the Mule VM?
Yeah, so that was that's because I'm having issues, or I ran into issues with IP customization working on Photon.
Yeah.
And there is a bug, so I started trying to work through it to try to figure out the dependencies to get it to work. But there's a bug, and I don't remember the KB number, but when IP customization fails, that VM will always come out on the other side with its NIC disconnected. And the only way to ever have it come back being connected on either a test or recovery is to remove protection and reprotect it. And I wasted a ridiculous amount of time troubleshooting that. And I mean, with having the NIC disconnected, just it didn't work. So that's the reason for the IP customization, the manual, my version of it. And it's just for the Mule VM, because we need that VM needs to be able to talk out on either a test or a failover. So it's kind of a chicken and egg, right? You know, having virtual center being virtualized type of a stuff, or type of a thing. Um, that was just the way that I chose to do it. So there's definitely other ways that you could, but
Cool. Thanks. I hope that covered your question, Shu. Um, so I think that was awesome, Z, personally, and I shall be stealing your scripts forthwith. So any other questions from the guys on Zoom or on Twitch? We've got a fairly large audience today, so don't be shy. Feel free to ask away. Even actually, ask anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be about this demo, but I think there should be a few people requesting your presence now, Z, I guess.
yeah. Now, if there's anything that I didn't touch on deep enough, or just any question, yeah, I'm definitely open. So, I guess, well, since we do have a little bit of time, so the one reason for um, my my disconnect segments, um, sorry, is so instead of having to click each one of these and click edit when I was making sure that this worked for this demo, I just ran that and it flipped these back from being routed to being disconnected. And actually, while I'm on that point, I want to thank. I know Michael is Michael still on? Yeah, Michael's still on. So Michael helped solve some of this. I was just doing it manually, and he found out that I was not passing a couple of parameters. So shout out to Michael Kolos, who's on our team. And then also a lot of the Perl stuff, I don't see him on. I think he's on site with a customer. He works for another company, IT company. Um, but my good friend Mike Johnson, not the Michael Johnson.
I was going to say you
We
got friends in high places.
we call him I always joke Johnson Scripting and Migration Services. So he helped me with particularly the IP customization stuff, and Michael helped with that too. So definitely wasn't all me. I know I got a little bit of flack internally for doing this in Perl, but it's what I know. So um, yeah.
Cool. It was awesome, mate. Thank you. Cool. Well, listen, we've no further questions coming in. I don't know if any of the other. Oh, hello. So Shu actually just dropped one in. Thank you. So what other language should you use instead of Perl? Well, I think that's a religious debate, Shu, that I don't intend to get involved in. So yeah, I mean, pick your language, really. I would say.
Yeah, I think the flavor of the day is Python. It seems to be all that anybody talks about. So no, I totally agree with you, Will. It's I would say it's right up there next to a religious debate. I would say pick whatever you know, right? If you're running Windows, do PowerShell. I'm not particularly a fan, but it's whatever you have the ability to do, and whatever language, as long as that language has the ability to do what you need to do. I don't. I personally don't see an issue with that.
Yeah, you can tell that this has come up before because the first things he did was apologize for his use of Perl.
Yeah, it's just not flashy. It's not cool. So, but I actually think it's cooler because it's not cool.
You're going full loop on that one, are you?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you again. Thanks everybody for joining in today. I think it was a great demo. I hope you got some use out of it. As per normal, any follow-up questions, you can reach out to myself or any of the team. You can reach out to at VMware Cloud AWS or myself at Will Rodbard on Twitter. This video will be posted up to the YouTube channel as soon as we can. Thank you, Shu, for your questions and your nice comments there. Anything further before we close out from the rest of the team online, or any further questions? If not, have a fantastic afternoon or morning or evening wherever you reside, and we'll catch you next week. Oh, actually, one last note: there is a really nice follow-up demo happening in about 10 or 12 minutes time on the same channel on Twitch regarding Horizon 7. So if you have any interest in that area, please feel free to join back in.
Awesome. Thanks, Will.
Thanks a lot. Have a good one.